So it's been a little over 6 days since I got the brand new Homey Pro Smart Home Hub, and I'm going to take you through everything you get with this device and answer all of the questions that you've sent in. First question. Oh, this is a big one. What is the big difference with Home Assistant, and why should you choose Homey over Home Assistant? For those unfamiliar, the Home Assistant is a really big open source home automation platform. From a hardware standpoint, for Home Assistant, it's on you to go out and get all of the hardware that you need. One of the big benefits with the Homey Pro product is everything is just built in to the Homey Pro. All of the hardware, Zigbee, Z-Wave, everything is just built into this hub. So that's one major differentiator. If you don't have the time, but you want some of the similar features that you can get with Home Assistant, but you kind of want it in an all-in-one package, that's where I'd say the Homey Pro has an advantage. And the other difference, it's going to be more minor, is just in aesthetics. Homey's design, I think it just looks a little bit more slick and minimalist. And of course, Home Assistant being open source, Homey says that they are an open platform, but being an open platform is not technically the same thing as being open source and having the open source development community of tinkerers and things like that. So that's going to be a big differentiator for some out there as well. Is this a device with which people who can't code can use? Yes, absolutely. That's one of the nice things about Homey and the Homey Pro is you don't need to know how to code in order to use this device. The automations you can do are much more advanced than what you can typically do in each of those other platforms. So Homey has what they call flows, which if you've ever used if this then that or Siri shortcuts, very similar to that type of logic flow. So if this motion sensor is triggered, I want you to do this, but if it's at this time of night, turn on this scene instead. You know, you can just kind of go down the list and do different logic sequences like that. They also have a feature called advanced flows, and this just opens up the possibilities even more with what you can do with your smart home automations with the Homey Pro. Now, I said you don't need to code in order to use the Homey Pro. However, if you do already know your way around some programming languages, there's also the Homey Pro scripting language, which does allow you to script out different things with the Homey Pro and get into some coding if you want to. Who is this device for? Especially with Matter, we have smart home hubs from the big guys like Google, Apple, Amazon. When would we use a smart home hub like this? Also, is it worth the steep price? What makes it worth that amount? Well, I can't say if it's really worth it just yet. I'm still, a week into the review period. I will, of course, address that in our long-term 6 months later review. Why would I use this over HomeKit or the Google Assistant? This has a lot more radios in it than the devices that those big tech companies you just mentioned make. You can pair Zigbee and Z-Wave accessories with. Right now, like I have an Aqara door sensor, I have a Aqara motion sensor in my bathroom that turns on the lights. All of that I have paired with the Homey Pro, and it is controlled locally. So the response time of those devices turning on and off and triggering is pretty much instantaneous. It's quite fast, actually. And that was one of the biggest differences I noticed when pairing devices to the hub specifically for local control versus the normal thing that we all typically do with smart home products up until this point is, you buy it, you make an account, you have to download their app, add the thing, and then it's not really locally controlled. It's a lot of times still controlled in the cloud. So that's the real advantage there, is everything is really locally controlled. Depending on the big tech company that you mentioned there, some of their platforms now will run locally as well. Even if you get, if you're into HomeKit, even if you get a HomePod or a HomePod Mini, both of which we've reviewed. I just put out a review of the HomePod, which has the Thread radios and stuff built into it. It doesn't have Zigbee built into it. It doesn't have Z-Wave. It doesn't have all of the things that Homey has built into the Homey Pro, specifically for those battery-powered accessories. Unless those accessories have Thread radios, you're likely not going to get local control with them unless you have some sort of hub like this. And the benefit of this is It is like built to be the one hub to rule them all versus just being a Zigbee hub or a Z-Wave hub. That's one of the benefits with the Homey Pro. All right, next question. Why is Pro in the name? What makes it different and better than the billion-dollar companies that this is competing against? Well, the billion-dollar companies, I'm assuming you're talking like Apple, Google, and Amazon. To my knowledge, none of them make just a single hub with the Thread radio, Matter support, plus Zigbee, Z-Wave, infrared, all the other stuff that this thing has built into it. Typically, what the big tech companies are doing right now for Matter is they are building Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and Thread radios into their devices. But if you have existing devices that are Zigbee, Z-Wave, or infrared, those devices from those big tech companies are not going to be able to control them. You would need an additional hub, or you would need some other device to be able to control them. Homey is really looking at Home Assistant and what Home Assistant is doing and being like, what if we make just a slightly better app experience and give people the hardware just out of the box, they plug it in and they don't have to do all this configuration and the software with the open source stuff. What if we just make that experience a bit simpler for people? There's probably a market for that. They're looking at what Apple and HomeKit are doing and being like, well, we want to make sure we support Matter so we can pull all of your HomeKit stuff into here and just have one hub to rule it all and give you more advanced automation capabilities for your smart home. That's more likely what they're kind of doing. And then why is Pro in the name? Simple, local control. Plus you get advanced flows and Homey scripting as well, which you do not get with the other Homey products. Next question, does this device make it so that more products work with HomeKit, and does this replace the need for things like Philips Hue Hub, Lutron Hub, etc.? So for those unfamiliar with Homebridge does, it allows you to pull devices that don't actually support HomeKit into Apple's HomeKit. That's what Homebridge does. Now, Homey has something that works very similar. It's called the Apple HomeKit Experiment. And what this does is it allows you to bring any device that you've connected into Homey into HomeKit. Do note though, it is part of Homey Experiment, so they cannot guarantee support on experiments, so you got to use them at your own risk. It's something I haven't done, and I'm going to explore that more in our 6 months later review. So if you want to see that, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. For the second part of your question, theoretically, yes, you can just use this to replace all of your other Zigbee hubs. And next question, is it more stable than the Hobbs Pro Homebridge? I'm not sure. I don't actually use Homebridge, but if any of you have experience with both Homebridge and Homey Pro, and you know, definitely leave it in the comments below. All right, next question. Why is there a need for an external Ethernet adapter when they could put it on the box? I don't know. Maybe there wasn't enough room for it inside the design, or they didn't want to make it bigger. No idea. Why does it actually work with, I really don't get the point of this and say SmartThings when they seem to lack a ton of integrations and features compared to Home Assistant. Yeah, for Home Assistant, you're somebody who's like, I can do Home Assistant. I'm fine getting my own hardware. I like the open source stuff. I like to tinker. I want to do that in my home. This product is not for you. Like, Home Assistant would be the better option. This product is for people who have smart home devices from the big tech companies and some others like Aqara and accessories, things like that, who want to do more with their smart home, but they don't necessarily want to go so far as to go full Home Assistant. They want something they can just buy that's plug and play, has a nice slickly designed app, and gives them more custom automations than they can get out of the box from the apps made by the big tech companies. That is the difference so far to me with Homey versus Home Assistant, and then versus the big tech companies. All right, and last question. I literally just want ChatGPT as a Home Assistant. Generative AI, give me that and I'll pay. Okay. Don't know what that has to do. I guess Homey, they want ChatGPT in this thing. Like everyone seems to want ChatGPT in anything. I really don't know exactly like what generative AI is going to do for you that like just telling the Google Assistant to turn on and off your lights like can't already do. I guess maybe it can make some more inferences and like suggest automations and things. But yeah, that's I don't really know what else to say to that. All right, and that's all the questions for the Homey Pro. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel to see my full 6 months later review of this device. And if you have any further questions on it or want to share your experience with Homey, leave those in the comments below and consider giving this video a thumbs up if you liked it and found it helpful. And to see more content on smart home and smart home devices, you can get to that by clicking on the videos here. For 6 months later, I'm Josh Tedder. Thanks for watching.